So, hello once again. This is your host, Dr. Jim Price, the Purpose and Progress podcast show, where we share inspiration and motivational stories of fabulous folks from all industries, sharing motivational messages of how their journey started and how they proceed to get to where they are in terms of their success and everything. So, today's no different. We have a fabulous guest. Um, she is the author of Dare to Plan Your Aging Experience, an insider's guide and workbook that helps older adults discover what matters most as they navigate the challenges of aging.
Mhm.
With nearly 24 years of experience working with older adults and a background as a retirement coach, she is passionate about helping people find purpose, stay engaged, and continue feeling wanted and needed. She shares practical insights on aging successfully, purpose-driven living, and preparing for later life with intention. And today we have Kim Shea with us. Welcome, Kim. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me on.
So we were talking a little bit before, like how it's different in terms of the weather. Like the weather's different in California versus here and stuff. Like we just had the tornadoes a couple of days ago, and we were talking about that, like differences and changes and how things happen and stuff. So that kind of leads into like our discussion with you in terms of people see the success and all that stuff, but they don't always know the journey to get there. So this is kind of like an overview of what how you came to your purpose and journey and everything in terms of the things you do. So I think getting into it, like when do you kind of feel that your journey began and kind of like what do you feel influenced that?
I think I became a caregiver for somebody. I was probably about the age of 42 or something like that. I was a stay-at-home mom, and there was a neighbor who needed caregiving. So I became involved in that, learned all about everything as I went along with the progress of his disease, and learned about advocacy, learned about what made life more valuable to him. And so it was a really wonderful experience. And then he passed away after about 6.5 years of doing the caregiving. And so then I really started to evaluate my life. It's not that I didn't enjoy being a homemaker, but my kids were going off to school and they were there full time. And I realized I really did enjoy helping people, but I didn't really know what that looked like.
Yeah.
So I was taking some classes. I knew I did like working with older adults. I was taking some classes and getting some certifications. And then at some point, a friend of mine said that she was going to be taking a job as a director of nursing in a
Mhm.
skilled nursing home. And she said there was a need for an activities director. And I thought, well, I can do that. So I did it. I loved it. And again, it reinforced some of the things I'd learned as a caregiver, but then there were newer things to learn, about just how people need to feel needed
Mhm.
and that they can contribute independently no matter what age they're in, almost at almost any stage of illness and aging, they still want to feel like they matter. So it was really helpful to me. And then I had an opportunity to work with older adults in a mental health practice. I'm not a mental health practitioner, but I ran the practice, and then got to work with older adults and helping them find places to live and helping them navigate retirement. And so it's all been, a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces that have contributed to what I know now. And I'm really thankful for all the opportunities that I have had. And now it's nice to be able to share them.
Yes, and I think that's something that's so useful because especially people sometimes don't really get into the aspects of really understanding about aging and what that entails. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I always take myself as a perfect example. At the age of 40, when I turned 40, I had a clean board of health that had no issues, no concerns. And as soon as I hit 40, it's like all of a sudden, oh, your blood pressure's a little high, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're put on a medication. All of a sudden they say, hey, can you see good? I said, I've seen 20/20. Went to the doctor and they behind my back scheduled appointment. I didn't even know the specialist was over there. I
Oh,
just went to the appointment because the doctor said so. Then it turned out to be a screening for my eyes, and then it turned out that they said I did need glasses. Now I'm wearing glasses. Like
okay.
so, like the
Yeah.
age, people sometimes forget about like the importance of understanding how to regulate themselves when they're going through the process of aging and all the things that entail in terms of like some people lose their they go from being kind of independent to being more dependent upon others and stuff like that. And that can be very detrimental to the mind and
Yes.
self-esteem and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, those are all aspects that are connected to that in that way,
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard sometimes to look at a lot of pill bottles and
Yeah.
realize geez, those are all mine now and they're not going away. And
Mhm.
then it can be hard to have to ask people for help.
Yeah,
That's really hard. It's really hard. And sometimes people get annoyed with them for asking for help, but it's really hard for the person who has to keep asking for help too. It's not fun.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, continuing with that, like, what do you feel were some of the obstacles that you face, and challenge that you face, to get to where you are today? What some maybe some obstacles or challenges that you face?
Okay. I've faced a lot of obstacles. Um, sometimes you don't have the exact educational requirements that you feel that you need for doing a job, and that can be daunting and intimidating. I remember when I did go to graduate school after I was done caregiving, and there were professionals in the room with me. I was not a professional. I'd been a caregiver, and they found what I knew valuable, but it wasn't the same as, somebody who was an MD and also had like 17 other letters behind his name. I swear he was getting every certification there was to get. Somebody who ran a respiratory therapy clinic for years and years and years. Just people had other knowledge that I did not have. And I would watch them get up and give presentations where they could just rattle it off. I mean, it was very impressive. And I thought someday I would like to be able to do that, but I wasn't there yet. So, but that's the thing is you have these things and then you figure out what you're going to do. So I took a class through Toastmasters and I joined Toastmasters for 2 years so that I could learn to be a better public speaker. And that helped me to develop my confidence. And then finishing the degree, doing all the work that I have, sometimes things just come with time where you learn things, but there's always challenges with money and trying to figure out how to keep something afloat if you're running your own business or not getting picked for a job that you thought for sure I'm the best person for the job, and somebody else disagrees. So I've had all those setbacks too, and it's definitely a challenge. And then for women, a lot of times you have a challenge of a family. So that can get in the way of things too from a career perspective. And uh, it's not that it's not important, it's just sometimes it does make it harder to move ahead.
Yeah, I know even in the bigger, in the gist of how people navigate their lives and stuff like that, sometimes there can, when we have certain obstacles and certain hurdles that may come about in our lives and stuff, and we see sometimes others around us doing different things and stuff like that. And then sometimes, people become more sentimental to what they're doing in comparison to other people and stuff like that. And then, it tends to have them lose focus on what they should be focusing on is themselves and their progress and
Yeah.
what they're doing personally, and sometimes I think that gets lost in the shuffle of everything when, you're trying to navigate and you're overcoming these obstacles yourself. And at the same time, when you meet at challenges and you're able to overcome challenges, that boosts self-esteem and lets you know that you have the ability to overcome circumstances, to overcome obstacles and things that happen in life and stuff like that. And I think that, kind of connects with that purpose-driven idea of trying to better one's life and understand oneself, on a more personal level, understanding self and stuff like that. So, I mean, all that, correlates in there as well, with, self-esteem boosting, wanting to be better and be a better
Right.
version of yourself. I always like to
Yeah.
say, become the,
Yeah.
the best version of yourself along this path of the life that we go through and stuff like that. So, I mean, those are such important points right there.
Oh yeah, I agree. And you raise a good point too. It's just to you're kind of wasting your time comparing yourself. I think it's hard not to do. I think it's human nature to look around and go, wow, she's like got 10 more years of experience than I have, or
Mm,
he's just, he's had better breaks than I've had. And it's just you do need to kind of try and stay in your lane and focus on what you can do to better yourself because it doesn't really help you unless you're looking around getting inspired by it, like, oh, he got that degree. That'd be helpful if I got that degree too.
mm.
But
That's
yeah.
that's definitely something I do. Like even with the youth that I mentor and work with in the schools, I always try to imply to them that they can set goals and
Mm.
meet their goals and think about their future. A lot of time the kids in schools they're just thinking in the present moment. They're not thinking about the future at the time. They're just kind of just thinking about in the present moment versus hey, what do you want to be thinking? Where do you think you'll be at in like 2, 3 years? Like what would you think you want to do? Like you're close to graduation. Like what are your plans toward when you get to graduation and stuff like that? Do you have a goal or some kind of plan? Have you thought about even that far ahead? Things like that.
Right. Yeah, that's really valuable. That's a good use of your thought powers there to try and figure out because you have to navigate you're really the only one who's going to do that for you is you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're already well accomplished, but if you were to say in terms of achievements and stuff, what's probably achievements have been most important and probably dear to you on your journey and things like that as far as
Well,
achievement?
as a parent, as every parent's going to say,
Yeah.
kids, I'm proud of my children and that they can be good citizens and take care of themselves, and definitely proud of that. But for personally, I'm proud of a book that I just had published. I'm proud of some community work that I've done that probably matters to me most of all.
Yeah.
Got my local senior center. I work with older adults to help them make friendships.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for almost 3 years, and that has been very enjoyable to feel
Yeah.
like I'm helping to bring people together. There's a lot of loneliness in
Yeah.
the world, and especially among older adults. And then I've been able to bring together people in the senior living spaces,
Mhm.
senior services, to come together once a month and talk to each other and learn from each other, learn from experts and things like that, just to help build that community.
Mhm.
Where we can talk to each other and really, you know, gain insight into what other people are doing, what other people are going through, maybe problems that we hadn't heard about, articles in the news, things like that. It's been really helpful to do that. And so I'm really proud of those things.
Yes, I mean it's always good when you come. People don't always understand how it's a process just to yeah, you have you create a story or whatever it might be, but it's another thing to have it published. That's those are two different hurdles, like yeah, you come up with ideas, you create this fabulous book and material that's going to be helpful for people, and then it's like now I got to get it published, and sometimes for a lot of folks that's a challenge within itself. So be able to do those things and move forward, especially in a message that's going to be helping others understand something that can be useful and important to their lives, as they progress and get older and things like that. And they can have that ability to be able to have some kind of form of resources and stuff like that that's attached to those things too in that way, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I also wanted to know, like, in terms of like I know we talk about the book a little bit. Maybe just give the audience a little bit about some aspects of the book too, as well.
Well, it covers a lot of things. It's stories of things that I've seen or experienced, taking care of older people, just working with older people, and helping them to plan ahead for their lives by presenting different topics with multiple perspectives. So the one I use the most often would be like if you ask people what do you want to do for senior housing and where do you want to live, a lot of people become very flat-footed. I'm going to live in my house and I'm not leaving here. They're going to have to carry me out in a cardboard box. Like, well, okay. But let's say you get this diagnosis and this house doesn't work for you anymore. Let's say you get this diagnosis and you need care and nobody can come in and care for you here because it's too expensive. I mean, so I try and just give people multiple perspectives. But there's a lot of other talk besides senior housing, like talking about whether or not you should work or volunteer. And so some people feel like, my gosh, we're talking about working. I'm retired. Why would I want to work? Fact of the matter is people live a lot longer than they used to, and they live more healthily than they used to. So a lot of times you can work if you want to, and you can pick a part-time job, or you can pick something that you never did before that you just think is something you've always wanted to do, or you can volunteer. I mean, older adults make up a huge portion of the volunteer work in the United States, and talking to people about it, because when you work, you get really wonderful things from work. You get money, but you also get a social environment in most cases. Even if you work from home, a lot of times you go out and meet other people, or you communicate with other people on a regular basis. So you have a social connection. You have somebody who cares about what you're doing and cares about your knowledge and expertise. You have a reason oftentimes to get up and get dressed and be somewhere. And it's a benefit. All those things are real benefits to keep you connected to life and to other people and with your mental stimulation. And so when you stop working, you need to find ways to replace all that really in order to be really healthy. Some people don't, some people have tons of money and they go and travel and see the world, and that's great. That probably meets those boxes for those people. But for a lot of us, working is a fact of life, and a lot of us, for financial reasons, have to work too. So I talk a lot about that in the book too, because I think it's something important to think about and not to be ashamed if you need to keep working past the age of 65. It's pretty common.
And I know even with myself, I'm at the age now where I actually have to have those conversations about, retirement and what that would look like and all those things like okay health wise like if things were to change how that would that impact my current living situations and things like that and, even with work like like all those aspects that you just mentioned about work are so important because those are the things that happen like you get
Mhm.
the social thing it gives you something to do gives you purpose and drive for the day when you're able to work and especially when you have work that you love doing
Yeah.
and stuff like that. That makes a tremendous difference when you actually live. There's a lot of people who don't really enjoy what they're doing work-wise. They go to work, but they don't enjoy the work that they're doing. But when you have that passion, you're able to be in a situation where you actually enjoy what you're doing. It makes such a tremendous difference in terms of getting through and that stuff. I was just talking to somebody else about the AARP stuff and how they sent me that stuff in the mail and all that stuff and how I was ripping it up and all that stuff.
You've arrived.
No, I'm not that old yet. I'm not
I
that
know.
old
They
yet.
send it really early, so you have time to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, those are things like maybe 10 years ago I wasn't even thinking about, wasn't even on my radar to think about a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff. But now it's the reality of it is these are things that I have to think about. Like I'm now at the point where I have to start giving really focus and real energy toward knowing what the plan will be in terms of retirement and what that would look like and everything like that. So all those things are so important. A lot of people just, as they get older, they go through those life transitions and they don't always understand how it's impacted them and influencing them. And I think your book will definitely help motivate, not just motivate, but give people valuable resources on how to work through all that and navigate all that in their lives as they continue to go forward with getting close to retirement, whatever it might be, planning for retirement, as they say,
Yeah.
or even, just medical conditions, whatever it might be, with
Well,
that.
thank you. Thank you. That is the goal, and I hope people will think about it because you can wing it. It's just sometimes it's nice to have some things that you've thought about, might where you might want to live if home doesn't work out and who's going to be your power of attorney and do you want to move if your kids live in another state, would you rather be closer to them or do you want to be somewhere by yourself? Just things to think about and start taking steps for it. And if you've some people, they do need to retire from work. They've been exhausted. They've worked very physical jobs. They've maybe worked jobs that were very emotionally traumatizing and they're drained. And so some people need to figure out, well, I'm not going to have that extra source of income to help me out. So what can I afford? Because I think a lot of times people are very surprised by how much it costs to move into a senior living community or to hire a caregiver. Those things are very expensive. So how can you make your house ready so that you can retire there? And how can you get help when you need it? What can you do? So just a lot of things to think about.
Absolutely. And like I said with myself, I never, when I was younger, I never thought about being the age I am now. Whenever you're young, you don't think about that. You're young
No,
and you're just living in the moment and you're just having fun and you're not even thinking remotely about, oh, one day I'm going to be this age. And then you
no,
get to that age and then you like, I'm doing the same thing. Like all my mentors and stuff who used to give me advice and guidance on maybe making better choices in my, good choices in my life. Now I'm doing the same thing. Like I'm giving the advice. I'm giving
yeah.
the like the lectures and stuff. Oh, some of my little cousin. Oh, here he come. He's gonna start logging again about some. But
Yeah,
I went through the same exact thing. So I mean, it's just brings such an awareness when you're able to see the how life goes full circle. Like I used to get the advice, and now I give the advice as the older adult now. And
yeah.
seeing how things go full circle like that.
It's neat, and it's neat to realize you've gained wisdom over
Yeah,
time and you have it to share. They might not be appreciative, but maybe on some level it's sinking in up there.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you were to say, in terms of advice for the audience, in terms of anything like advice in terms of motivation, and or even if they're maybe stressful about aging or whatever the case may be, what advice would you give to the audience to help motivate them and encourage them in those ways?
I mean, in terms of aging, it's something you either get to do or you don't get to do. So
Absolutely.
try just take some time to think about it, talk to your family or your loved ones, your close friends, whomever, and make sure you get people in place who are there to help you and can listen to you and support your decisions. Um, so that at least you feel like you have a little bit of a handle on it. I know a lot of times I think people are trying to gain control of it, like you can and you cannot. So you can say, I'm like one of the ones I think most people rally against the most is dementia. So they've done the research and they know if I learn a foreign language, if I
Mm.
take dance lessons, if I learn a musical instrument, and if I hang out with other people and I exercise and eat right, I'm not going to get dementia. No, they'll say like, well, I'm going to reduce my chances, but I think in their heart they're thinking I'm not going to get it because I've done all this. And so I think that's great to do the research and try and figure out what you can do to give yourself confidence about aging. But again, think about, but what happens if I do? And again, you'll just have the confidence. I know a lot of people, they never want to have a will drawn up. They don't want to bother with that. There's a lot of things, once you get them in place, you can just relax. Like,
Yeah.
"Ugh, I did it. That's done." And then you don't have to think about it again, unless something major changes in your life. It's nice to get things in order. So I would say for stress to definitely try and set things aside, get it done, but and then you can set them aside. And I think in terms of motivation, you just can't give up. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, I think about all the things, challenges I've had over my life where I just feel like, okay, I'm going to give up. And then the next day I'm like, but I'm going to try just this one more thing. And never really giving up. Just sometimes it feels so defeating. I mean, life is hard and so definitely there's days when I've just been like, I can't even do this anymore. I don't know why I'm here. Uh, but then the next day thinking, okay, today's a new day. I'm going to try again. I think it's really important to keep trying. Make sure you're not running your head into a wall that's never going to open for you. So try and stay open to other possibilities, but not giving up. I don't think you should give up on yourself or, what you need for yourself. I don't think you should give up on that.
That's so powerful right there. Not giving up on self. And there's so many people out in the world. I always talk about how there's so much unhealed trauma and stuff like that, and unhealed childhood trauma, all kind of traumas that people go through in their lives that's been unhealed or not addressed in some way, shape, or form or fashion and stuff. And I mean, that definitely is regulated toward trying to understand those aspects of self when you're going through aging or just dealing with trying to get through over obstacles and you can get through challenges and stuff, it can become very stressful. And stress can lead to actual physical symptoms. If they're not held in check and you're not able to resolve some things, sometimes stress can actually lead to having physical symptoms. So a lot of that is, kind of interconnected in that way.
Right.
Where people are just trying to get through because life is definitely not all bowl of cherries, as they say.
So,
You never
mhm.
know. There's always something happening here, there, and everywhere, and being to
Yeah,
meet the challenges of what life throws at you. Life is a great thing, but you got to appreciate the good and the bad of life, and stuff like that. So, because life is just a journey that keeps on giving you lessons and stuff like that too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
that was so great that you mentioned those things.
Yeah, thank you. And I like what you talked about with the stress and it can lead to health problems.
Mhm.
And there's plenty of studies to support that because it causes inflammation in the body. And so, but I think one thing if people kept in mind is that we're lucky. You talked about unresolved or unaddressed childhood trauma. When we were little, if you had a trauma, then you kind of dealt with it and marched on. It was not. 'Cause I don't remember ever like having someone say to me, "Oh, you need to go get some therapy and we'll get you to see a psychologist on a regular basis." I mean, it just wasn't a thing.
Mhm.
But nowadays it's so accepted and you can get it online. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own house. You can sit there in your pajamas and talk to a therapist online. And it's just much more acceptable now to get therapy. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you need help thinking something through and not necessarily taking the advice of your cousin, but having a therapist to help you work it through and make sure you're dealing with your stress in a good, healthy way. So that's an option that people always have available to them.
Absolutely. I said the main point of if you know you need help, the first step is willing to be accepting that, yes, I do have a problem. That's the first step. And then making steps upon that. Okay, I know I admit that I have a problem. Then what is going to be my first step to actually regulate toward getting help for whatever the issue is or
Right.
whatever the concern is, whatever it
Yeah.
might be in that way,
I love that. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Solid advice. Yeah.
So how is our audience able to connect with your books and you and
Oh, thank you. Yeah, they can go to my website, which is seniorlg.com. And they can email me at kimshea@seniorlg.com. And then my book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Book Baby Bookshop. And again, it's called Dare to Plan Your Aging Experience. And it is a workbook and a guidebook.
Absolutely fabulous. Our audience, I mean, please go out and purchase the book. And we're always about motivating people and inspiring people to be the best versions of themselves through self-love, self-worth, understanding your value in terms of that. So aging is a part of that, understanding your value as you age and stuff like that, and dealing with those things. So it's been great to have you as a guest, Kim. It's just a blessing to have you. We definitely touch upon a lot of nuggets of knowledge and understanding and stuff like that. So thank you to you. And once again, we're always trying to motivate others to be the best versions of themselves. So thank you to all the audience as well. And until next time, I always say stay prayed up and stay blessed. Once again, this is the Purpose and Progress podcast show. I'm your host, Dr. Price, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dr. Price. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.